All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to Tina and Karen Do the Tube. I am Karen.
This is Tina.
Yes, for the layperson, we actually decided that Martin should introduce himself in a cartoonish voice every single time because it makes it more entertaining for the audience. All right. Okay, great. Well, we got a great show today because we got someone in the hot seat for the first time ever. We have Austin Turner, a science teacher and host of the Agitator podcast, joining us. Thank you for coming on, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right.
Hey, Austin, did you have any nicknames growing up?
No, actually I did. I actually had one. It was Audie.
All right. Can we call you Audie from here on out?
Sure.
We tend to like to give female names to our guests. So is there a female name you would like to go by?
Is that kind of like a Pat sort of name, you know? Can kind of go either way, like for Audie?
Sure. Audie could be a girl's name.
I think so. Yeah. It's the feminine, version of Otto.
Because we have Phyllis. He's our other guest host. Sometimes Tina can't fill in. But all right. So great, Austin, Audie. Thanks for coming on the show. Just to get that out of the way, tell us how you got to where you are today. In under a couple minutes. Why'd you decide to start hosting a podcast?
The main reason why I wanted to start a podcast in the first place is just stuff that I was reading in the news, and every single time in the news, kind of the theme was just the little man getting punished here and out and here and out, and makes me wonder, why do we need to listen to people above us in the first place? And so it made me want to question that, and that's this podcast of the Agitator kind of came from that. And the name The Agitator itself comes from a newspaper from home Washington, and it was a community where it was an anarchist community, and in this community, people didn't actually own the land. It was only you would pay a fee back in the early 20th century, where you would actually get to share all the materials that the company had. And so you didn't really pay property taxes, but yet you had all the resources, and you could buy and build your own cabin. And there was a whole school system and a whole library, city hall, and it was just crushed not by people's choice, but because the state authorities above decided that they should pay taxes and not avoid it. And I think that's bullshit. And I think it's just a technical way of we don't like this, and people are thinking it differently, so therefore we're going to do something about it. And so I took that as my name of the podcast, and I kind of took it from there, interviewing the average Joe Blow and what they think about their bosses.
Because we actually on this podcast right here, just the three of us, so we have three different perspectives on workplace, don't we? Because so I'm an employee for a power company, and Tina here, he actually is a co-owner and operator of a small business. Isn't that right? Tina, Marty.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So maybe he can actually provide a different perspective.
Certainly, yeah. Anything you want to ask me. I definitely feel like I have a very different perspective from most of my friends about work culture.
Well, hopefully this podcast will kind of see that a little bit for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't want to just focus on your podcast alone, because you are a teacher, and I thought that was interesting because I actually have a few friends now who are teachers, and education is a really big issue to me. So how did you become? What made you want to become a teacher?
The main reason why I wanted to be a teacher was just kind of following that theme, what I've been seeing in the news, and that's kind of driven my lifestyle. But it's to inspire kids to do things they want to do, not train kids to do things they don't want to do, because we do that as adults. Because I think kids have the whole lives to get good at meeting deadlines, following lines, turning things in on, but they only have a short, limited amount of time to learn about the natural world, make poetry, and produce music and art, and before we get stuck into what we call adult life. So I wanted to be a part of that and change that.
That's actually pretty interesting. I mean, like that actually kind of sort of jumps us off into a whole direction of, like, do you think that school today is structured? Because I've heard things reported like that the way we used to structure school was all based on conformity, and you even had everyone sit in a sort of organized grid pattern, and it was sort of to prepare them for factory work in a way. Do you think that like modern day education is structured the same way, or does it need to be changed?
I think it's more directed towards a certain archetype of person, and it's kind of a filter versus like trying to stuff people into an empty vessel. And the filter is of the sort of people that make the hierarchy system work. People are somewhat who understand that they got to do the stupid task in front of them in order to move on, right? That's how we get through school. And so I think that's what it breeds. It's less about factory work and more as just, like it said, I think conformity. And a lot of my kids do not want to fall in that box. Especially, it's like it makes assumptions in the school system that like you have a stable family system a lot of the time. Then oftentimes the school becomes that. And so it's become a lot of things than it was back in the day. It's also now a social welfare system.
That's true.
Are you a teacher for a public school system?
Yeah, I am in Kent.
Yeah. Do you feel hampered at all by like the curriculum? Like you have to follow the curriculum, or does that just make things easier as a teacher?
Yes and no. I do feel like there is a little amount of control of how I can teach these standards, but there's not a much control of how these standards are written or which standards should I teach. It's kind of a very top down at that point. And so that's my critique of it. But whatever standards they throw at you, it's kind of up to you. So it's kind of halfway freedom.
Do you think that like they don't offer enough flexibility to teachers then?
I think you could extend what I believe kind of beyond just even the classroom, but you can always ask for more flexibility, to be quite honest.
Oh, so they actually let you go against the curriculum if you ask?
No, it doesn't. But as long as you can go against the curriculums, let's say, but it has to meet a standard, and the standard is a state imposed thing that is developed by people in Olympia, not even close to being educators and not even close to being in a school building. And right. So it becomes one of those choices too, of like, if there's a short amount of year, which standards are the most important to me? And I do that for sure.
So you're a science teacher, right?
Correct.
Was it a certain type of science, or is it just general?
It's middle school science.
Middle school science, okay. Because I remember like the last time that like before we did that podcast of you and me together, I remember that like you were studying psychology in college.
Yeah, I was.
So I remember like because you wanted to actually be a therapist. That did that change?
That was kind of a split thing, and I wanted it to be with the general public as much as I can, and I figured, there were two avenues I wanted to do that, and there were either going to be a therapist or a teacher, and to get myself out there in the public, and I felt like it was easier to do that as a teacher while also helping people.
All right. Right on. All right. What would you say is one thing that parents don't understand about the education that their kids are getting?
That teachers are doing the best they can. They're with what we got. We're trying to teach things with gum and strings and rubber bands, and it doesn't really. You can do only so much.
Well, what lesson does that teach them? Gum, string, and rubber bands. I'm trying to think up some contraption in my head that would work with those three things. What are you building?
It's called it's a law of physics here.
Yeah.
Here, all right. Here's what is it? First law of physics: motion stays in motion. The object stays at rest. Stays at rest. I don't know.
Right. Okay, Tina, who did you have for high school physics? Did you have what's his name? Okay, so we all went to Peninsula High School, so we should know the same names. Who was your high school physics teacher, Marty?
I don't ever think I formally took physics.
Oh, did you take chemistry? Or because I remember
I took AP chemistry, and I remember switching teachers like mid-semester, but I can't remember their names off the top of my hand. And then I just stopped taking science altogether.
Oh, I mean, I can't remember any of my teachers' names off the top of my head. I remember Myers and Bill because I loved history. And I remember Mr. Prague. He was who did you ever take statistics, Marty?
Nope. I took
Mr.
trigonometry 3 times.
Mr. Pratt?
Pratt's.
Okay, yeah. I liked him a lot too because I was a big math nerd, so I loved anything statistical. I
have a question for you, Audi.
Yes, Tina.
We don't have to be so formal. We can call each other by any name we want at this place.
Yeah. Now you were talking about having to use gum strings and rubber bands for like lessons and stuff. Is a lot of that coming out of your own pocket to pay for those supplies, or is this supplied by the school district? These expenses.
Good question. So there's out of the whole year, if you can imagine, of all the school supplies, if that school of 1,000 kids, our school department is about $700 each and every year. So we probably put in about myself last year. I probably put in about $120 myself in.
Damn. No, I've heard that too. I mean, I have a friend who's a teacher, and they have to buy a lot of their own school supplies. How does that make any sense?
It's the only work job that I know that you actually have to pay for your own supplies to the workplace instead of like, Well,
okay, I'm gonna throw a little tax accountant your way because that's what I studied in college. You do get to write that off as unreimbursed employee expenses, don't you?
I do, but I also go beyond the deduction, though.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about the standard deduction. It's just so high that no one actually itemizes anymore.
Yeah, I remember trying to save all my sales tax receipts one year, and it wasn't even close to saving any money.
All right. So how'd you get your start in Kent? Like, I mean, did you want to work there, or was it just that's what was hiring at the time?
It was one, it was hiring at the time, but two, how I came about finding it, how they were hiring at the time was just me starting from literally this list of school districts from the letter A, going down to B, C, D, E, F, and went to letter K, and that's where I stopped.
That's how I plan on naming my child.
I don't just go through there, just like, dang, that was what was it, Jacob? Michael.
I was just gonna go
dang,
Adam,
those are too popular.
Aaron.
Let's keep going.
No, I'm not. Austin. Apparently, your parents didn't go through the list too far.
They saw the first thing and they saw state capitals. They're like, oh, that's it.
That's a good one though. I've always wanted to visit Austin. I mean, good music scene.
Yeah. I was
Tina,
named.
How come we haven't gone to Austin?
We haven't gone anywhere in quite some time.
Well, no, because like
pandemic.
Oh well, the pandemic definitely changed things, but oh yeah, I mean, how about you? I mean, like, how many places have you gone, Audie? Like,
the last place I gone was in London and Edinburgh in the UK.
Ooh, I hear that's That's a fancy artsy place.
I went there for Nick's wedding. He got stationed over there, my brother, and we flew over there, and just decided, the wedding was in 2 weeks, or it was in one day, but I wanted to live it up, and so I decided to spend 2 weeks and had a blast. Went through London and saw all the things that you would find in Parliament, and in Edinburgh it was great too. It was actually my favorite with Scotland. It was fun.
Yeah, that's what I hear. A lot of people that would like Austin would probably like Edinburgh more than London.
I don't know about London or Edinburgh. I mean, I know England has a huge pub culture. You can just I don't know how many pubs are in England itself, but like one day I plan to go to the United Kingdom, and I just want to go, not London or Edinburgh, not the big cities, but just go to an English village and visit every pub around that village.
Yeah, we went there. I went to a small village there too, and it was actually, you know who Thomas Paine is?
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
The guy, he was anyway. Not everybody knew.
I'm sorry.
Wait, did he do Manifest Destiny?
No.
Did he write that?
He's the guy who wrote Common Sense, but anyhow,
same thing.
I think he's the most cited philosopher in the American Revolution.
Anyhow,
I'm not sure if that's
we stayed at his hometown in Tetford, England. So in the small little town there. So you get to see a little pubs and whatnot, and they're all kind of tiny. But they're much more of a drink like beer and like cider drinkers there. The shots there are fucking about half the size of our shots. Not even joking.
Really?
No, I've actually heard this is a big part of English culture. Is that I think American culture, we do it the exact opposite way, and it's not good. Americans all about binge drinking. English people, they before they get home to their wives and their family, they have to stop at a pub, and they have 1 or 2 drinks and they go home. Okay, that's a generalization, I get it, but that's sort of the culture. Whereas here, it's all about, I don't know, going out Friday night and getting hammered. I would think that a lot of people would be a lot happier if they just stop at a pub one day, like get 1 beer on their way home to their family. I really do. Okay.
Traffic beer.
Warm beer, hopefully.
Ooh.
God damn it.
I avoided that. I actually stopped by in one of the pubs that George Orwell actually used to work in. That was pretty cool.
That is awesome.
And on my way there, it was very strange. I saw 20th Century Fox there.
Didn't they just drop the name 20th Century Fox?
It doesn't make sense anymore, so I hope so.
Yeah.
Let's fucking get with the times, man. Remember when they had Futurama? They had 30th Century Fox. They're like, just split the difference. 21st Century Fox. God damn. All right. All right. So Tina and I, this is a little bit of a sidetrack, but Tina and I were planning, we only did 1 cross-country road trip back in 2014. And it was supposed to be like an annual thing for you and me, right? But we never did it.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. It's probably more on me than you, to be fair. I think I am the one who never could take time off work. And it's funny enough because I think you work more hours in general.
Yeah, I just have a specific time of the year where it's suggested that I go. Especially the amount of time you need to take like a cross-country road trip.
Man, yeah. I wouldn't even take another cross-country road trip. Maybe at the 10-year anniversary, you and I will redo that trip. That'd be fun.
It certainly would.
Yeah, but I still haven't been to Vegas. There's a lot of places I still haven't been.
Yeah, you've been more to South America recently than anywhere else in the U.S.
Yeah, I've been to South America 5 times in the last 2 years. So
that might be why we haven't taken a cross-country road trip.
Yeah, you're just doing like international road trips.
What can I say? I love Latin women.
They sure are pretty.
Yes, they are. Why do you think Miss Venezuela wins like Miss Universe every year? Is it Miss Universe or is it Miss Earth or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know.
Miss Earth.
Miss Earth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Miss this planet.
Miss this planet. I know, but like the problem is like it's very discriminatory against people from Mars.
Oh yeah, those Martians.
The Martians are really
in miss this solar system.
Miss Solar System. Yeah, it's like you know how like people say like the World Series winner is always an American team. Like,
yeah,
this seems sort of unfair. Was Japan ever
bitched about that in England?
They bitched about that.
Really?
Yeah, they told me about that. Like, I don't understand about Americans in a pub. You guys say we're world champions, and after you win the World Series, and after the Super Bowl, I don't get it.
Okay,
well, why don't you field a team that can compete against us?
Okay, to be fair for the Super Bowl, what other country plays American football? No one. But like, so
yeah, they all have their own versions of it, but not quite the same.
No, okay, you actually know
that. What about the Grey Cup though? There's a Canadian football dude. They don't self-proclaim themselves world champions, and
it's because they're Canadian and they're modest.
They're just sorry.
That's partly true, but if we had actually an annual match between the Super Bowl champs and the Grey Cup champs, who do you think would win? Honestly.
Of course, Super Bowl champs.
That's what I mean. So it's not actually that big a far of a leap to say they're the world champs. But England, American football is actually really popular in England. I think it's like the third or fourth biggest sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a couple people who said that their friends watched it, but all we watched was soccer, though. That was it.
No, that's still
traditional football.
It's end of story.
I mean,
I think soccer might be like the one sport where you could actually proclaim like a world champion.
How insulting would it be if the MLS Cup was called the World Cup? That would be kind of insulting, would it be? Because like everyone knows that like any good player goes to Europe. They don't play in the United States.
No, well, they go to Europe, and then once they're done in Europe, they come back to the MLS.
Who's the sounder? What's his name? Fuck, I forgot his name.
Casey Keller?
No, it's not him. What? No, he was big in the Premier Leagues, English Premier Leagues, and then he came here. He was a Tottenham Spur. What was his name?
Oh, it's Clint Dempsey.
Clint Dempsey, yeah, exactly. They come back to the United States when they can't hack it anymore.
Yeah, he started out with the New England Revolution and then went to Tottenham and maybe another place or two in Europe and then came back here.
I'm a big Arsenal fan.
So it feels like the U.S. is kind of like, for like entertainment people, is the equivalent of like the Las Vegas circuit of just being kind of washed up. If you're a soccer player, you're kind of washed up. You kind of come to the United States.
Wait, what's the Las Vegas circuit? I've never heard that.
Oh, yeah, I just threw that word out there. If you become washed up enough and you become a has-been, you just kind of stick in Vegas for a while.
Is that like an old person that just goes to casinos and then goes to the next casino and plays their favorite machines, hoping they might win something big?
What is it about like casinos? Jeez, like I mean, like I've only been to a casino like once in the last year, but it's such a depressing atmosphere for me personally. But I've only went to the Emerald Queen in Tacoma, the old one, not the new one, which is nice. It's just so depressing in there to me.
Yeah. I don't know. You just see people just staring at a screen, pressing buttons, and I don't know, like losing money. No, I see.
If I'm going to go to a casino, I don't want to do slots because granted, most games you're going to lose money, but like slots just seems like it's spinning wheels and lights. I'd rather actually feel like I'm participating and playing.
Right. Yeah, it never feels like how they glamorize it in, the movies.
Have you ever seen the movie 21?
Yeah.
No.
No? Oh, okay. Austin, you got to see this movie. It's pretty good. It's about these MIT like kids who get trained to count cards and they make millions. I think it's based on a true story too. I'm not sure. I think it is. But
Kevin Spacey in that movie?
Yeah. You mean the pedophile?
No, the actor.
I mean
They're both.
They're the same guy. Man, like that pedophilia thing that's been coming around, like that's like a shock, right?
Kind of comes in waves, doesn't it?
Yeah. And
It's like celebrity deaths. They come in pairs of 3. Yeah.
Shit.
Oh man, I think we're getting a little off topic. Let's get back onto the but I got nothing. So you started this podcast, The Agitator.
Right.
Yeah, and how many? So I was one of your first original guests, right?
Yeah.
How many guests have you gotten to this point?
I probably got about 8 or 9 now.
Oh wow, okay. So you haven't published them out on the internet yet because you want a big backlog so that you can constantly produce the put them out each week, right?
Right, that's exactly right. I kind of want to build up a library first, so that way I can get people to start subscribing, because people are not going to start subscribing to somebody who only has one YouTube video, or one video or one whatever bite. So I'm going to try to make it feel like kind of like start off with a bang with quite a few episodes.
That's a good point. I mean, Tina and I have been doing this for 4 years now, and we have 2 videos that are one video that's eclipsed 100 videos, and one that's coming up on it.
Yeah, we're about to get to $1 in revenue.
It's a long game. We're playing the long game. By the way, I wanted to tell Tina, I wanted to tell you this. The reason why that one video is getting so many views, pedophilia.
Mm-hmm. Hot topic.
So you can actually look up the analytics, how people are coming to your video, and the top search that gets us to that video that's got like 70 views now is pedophilia. People type in pedophilia, that video comes up.
What?
I don't know how to feel about that.
Well, it's
Is that the audience we want to attract?
I guess that's our market.
How does that even come around? Are they just listening to your conversations and you just mentioned pedophilia? Like how's that even possible?
Okay, so that particular episode, which is now upwards around 70, 80 views, we're coming up on 100, is because we talked about the top 3 topics was Final Fantasy VII, which I love, Keanu Reeves, which I love even more, and pedophilia, which I'm indifferent to. No, I'm
You'd think it would be Keanu Reeves or Final Fantasy VII that would be...
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking people are looking this shit up because like Keanu Reeves is a huge star. They're looking at, hey, I want to see a Keanu Reeves video, or they're looking up Final Fantasy VII because that's like the best-selling game of the year. No, the thing that is guiding them to our videos is pedophilia. And I don't know how to feel about that.
Because it's, yeah. That's awkward as hell.
It's awkward as hell because I don't want our audience to be made up of pedophiles.
I don't think I think you don't need those people.
No,
I don't think we need those.
Okay, well, Tina and I are somewhere around 7 subscribers, so I think we're gonna take whatever we can get.
I'll tell
maybe
you
your strategy should. Maybe your strategy should just be keying in on the most controversial words in the title, and then try to grab those people.
Coming up next week on Tina and Karen Do the Tube, cannibalism, good or neutral,
or necessary.
It's necessary, right? Oh man. Hey, Austin, you have any opinion on cannibalism?
It's not good. It's not neutral or good. It's just terrible.
I would hope we wouldn't get that.
I mean, you don't really see people protesting against it.
I don't think it's a wide scale problem.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, the title of this video now will be Cannibalism with Austin Turner.
Yeah, they call it Chow Time with Cannibalism.
You should do a cooking show.
Yeah, you'll be a cooking show. It's like with me, Austin, but no, it'll be literally me cooking as Austin. You get about to be feeding somebody.
It's like, okay, before you chop off my leg, you have to cut off the circulation. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do first. Oh.
I mean, it's not cannibalism if you're cooking yourself, right?
It's so strange the fact that I said the two topics were going to be the Agitator podcast and education, and now we're talking about cannibalism. So this is just how this show goes sometimes, just so you know.
A lot of the times.
Well, I'm very passionate about cannibalism. But getting back to it now, I mean, so the Agitator report, you got that from a name from a magazine or a newspaper from Home, Washington, which actually, you know, you're not the first one to tell me that like Home was something started as a commune, because another friend of mine actually told me he dated a girl from Home, and like she literally was living at like the commune essentially. And so would you okay, so like I mean, if you were going to start a commune, like what role would you play? Would you be like the educator, or how would you go about starting a commune?
Well, if I was going to start a commune, it would be, first off, it would just be, that would be my name. It would just be, yeah, I started it. But what would end up being is I would probably be working in a school, without any principals, and the teachers running it, and the school, and let everybody else kind of decide how the rest of the commune will look like.
So I would say that, like, here's my thoughts on that whole idea of a commune, because I think like in small scale it works well, but what would be the maximum amount of people you would allow in your commune? Because it's when you get to larger numbers, it tends to be a little bit messy, because I think only human beings can only make so many personal relationships. So what would be the maximum size of a commune you wanted to create?
Well, we're all different people, so we really can't say what's the perfect amount, because who's in that group, right? Maybe that person would like to have 100 friends versus maybe just typically 50. Maybe some people only need 10. So it depends on the community size of it. But I would say no more than one city, and whatever that town, I would say more, even smaller than that. Maybe no more than one town. And that's Jonestown. Commune.
Wasn't Jonestown the one that was massacred?
Yeah, that was in that.
Jeez, I think. Don't you mean like Jamestown? Was that what the one you wrote, Tase?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Jonestown.
Well, that's the cult.
Yeah, it's also a band too. Jonestown Massacre.
Oh my god! I mean, okay, so like Jamestown was the original founding settlement here in the United States. I thought that's what you're referring to, but you actually mean the cult.
Yeah, we're talking about communes, right?
Well, it's a little different when everyone commits suicide in the end, I'd say.
No one said it was a living commune.
Well, if we can't make it past one generation, I don't know how successful that would be. Jesus Christ, Marty. Oh, yeah. So, okay, so just getting back on topic a bit though. So you would like to no larger than like town. So how would these communes like what would you be like sort of their protection from other ones? Would there need to be need for walls and borders and like, I mean, because like this is kind of just a township, right? It's just a township that's communally owned, essentially.
Right. And it's also be organized by other townships like of the similar nature, and using the idea of mutual aid and mutual association and mutual benefit. Maybe they can together develop forces to defend both of them, or
this
all
is
of
actually, them. Okay. So actually, there's so now we have a number of communes that all work together communally to form
in mutual interest to protect each other.
So this is actually
that sounds like what something I've been listening to lately, anarcho-syndicalism,
something like that. That's where I'm going down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anarcho-syndicalism, can you guys explain that?
It's kind of hard for even me to explain, but it's kind of like a mixture between anarchy and syndicalism.
Nice.
That was a great.
So let me try. So
All right.
what it is a system where like the emphasis of these communes is more onto like unions and mainly like unions and stuff like that. Now the question is, and it becomes a giant union too, like of all the workers. That's kind of it's kind of a strategy to get to where I want to get to. It's another way of doing it.
And essentially, they just get rid of almost all government institutions, right?
That's where I'm suggesting too. Is if you have the government in the sense of like protection would be the mutual associations of these different townships or communes, and that would be in its place.
But wait, I mean, without government, you would essentially just.
I'm saying no rules.
Anarchy.
I'm saying rules.
But then there would be a government to enforce those rules, right?
No, we can have other people, each other enforce the rules. You know,
but who's each other?
Literally the
council?
people themselves. No, it could be a council, but the council could be shared. No, but like in the sense of like how you elect the people, you don't elect them. What I would suggest is maybe you would share it like the jury. Maybe like the council would be like you would randomly choose people from the population, just like a democracy back in Greek time or in Greek Athenian times. That's how they would do it. And
it's direct participation, right? Not representative participation.
Exactly. So I would say instead of like you being elected out of 1,000 people, I would just choose, just like jury, like 5 people, random people as a sample to make the decisions for us in a part-time manner, or not, or help us.
I just skipped out on jury duty, actually.
God damn it, Marty. It kind of sounds like ancient Rome. They elect a council every like 2 years, I think.
But this is an election, though, is what I'm saying.
It's an election. Wait, it's not an election, or it's an election? Sorry.
Wait, how I'm saying is it's not an election. It's like a lottery in a sense. You have a selection of 700 like people who are fit, quote fit for whatever this.
Okay, but then who decides who's fit?
Well, it's by chance. Good question. It's by chance. Chance does.
But that basically means nothing. Like
what do you mean that means nothing? That means that it's fair. Everybody has the same equal chance, and it's a representative of the population.
But you just said like it's all chance, and you said like they have to be deemed fit before they get like put on sort of the council or the randomly selected council. But who gets to deem what is fit?
Themselves. They can say they're fit. I'm fit enough to do it, so therefore I should go.
Interesting. I don't know how that would work.
Just like I said.
I know. I understand you say it that way, but like, I mean, like, a lot of people like there's something called sort of what is it? No, okay, I'm already forgetting the term, but basically, a lot of people sort of like
cognitive dissonance.
No, it's not cognitive dissonance. It's the idea that like people like believe themselves to be more capable than they actually are. I can't remember the actual term for it.
Well, nothing is perfect, all right, and you could do that, yeah, and just like in juries in life right now, things go wrong, and you do the best you can to make a system around it, a welfare system that makes them as educated as possible, you know.
That's the thing about anarcho-syndicalism.
It thinks it's not perfect here either,
isn't it? It doesn't. It's not saying it's supposed to be the system best built for everyone in the world or all countries. It's just that this is the way we see things, and we recognize that other people might see things different, and so we're gonna try to, kind of build this without and allow for change as well. If things don't go perfect, then we can always change the system to better fit.
Because after all, it's just if you can do that just as fast, you can change something with a quick vote. I'm sure.
It's meant to change. It's meant to be adaptable to an ongoing system.
Said it better than I did.
Tina, are you an anarcho-syndicalist?
No, I actually just happened to be listening to some of this yesterday and the day before, actually. So kind of random that came up.
All right, let's talk about this because Tina, you're a business owner. So I mean, like, but you also just said that like your opinion would be different from many of the people in your social circle. So how is it different from
of work?
others? Yeah, about work, the idea of work.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are a business owner, but you say you are different from many other business owners, or at least people in your social circle.
Yeah, well, both of you guys like work in unions, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't work in a union. And I just work with me, my business partner, and basically two other guys that work part-time. And we just all kind of work together and come to an understanding and fit our own roles of what is best for the company and what's needed. And there's not like there's a small hierarchy, but like we're all kind of interchangeable. Like each person can do what the other is doing if needed, and it just allows for enough people there to get all the work done that's needed, and without some kind of like too much like bureaucracy between like teams and management. It almost feels like just the small direct management that works really well and is really adaptable.
It's a small business.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, that's the quickest way of saying what you were saying. And actually, I'm a huge advocate of the small business, man, because like, okay, so like a large corporation like Jeff Bezos doesn't give a shit about like your average everyday Amazon worker. He just doesn't. He couldn't possibly, because he never interacts with anyone who interacts with them. But a small business actually has a lot of direct face-to-face with their employees. So I'm very big on growing small businesses and doing more to disrupt the powers that be, those elite corporations that basically try to assure their dominance over the market.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the tension still exists. It's just in a different scale at the corporate and the local levels, in my experience and people I've interviewed.
But it's a more manageable tension is the thing, because there's always going to be tension.
That's true.
There's always going to be differences. So, but like if you have a corporation like Amazon, like the average everyday worker of Amazon has no say over how that business is run. Whereas Martin, Tina's employees have a very face-to-face experience with their boss, Martin. So maybe Martin doesn't change his mind based on what the employees are saying, but maybe he does because they actually talk to him.
Well, yeah, I mean, the best businesses listen to their employees.
Right. But like the thing is, Jeff Bezos can't listen to his employees because he never sees his employees. Well, he obviously does, but he has it's a large hierarchy. He deals with a handful of people who deal with a larger handful of people who deal with a massive amount of people.
So why is hierarchy necessary then?
Because it's human nature.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Because
I can't
bring out the gloves.
Disagree.
Let's do it.
I do believe we remember talking about it in our last podcast. It became a little bit of a point, but I really do believe that what makes us as humans separate from animals is that we can collectively work together, much like ants work together towards a single goal. We apes perfected that on this planet, and that's what separates us and makes us think and be able to think abstractly, because we do work collectively versus a competitive form. Like
ants are scary, man.
Okay. I want to respond to Austin, but first I want to hear Tina's comment. Ants are scary?
Oh, hell yeah. Have you never been scared by ants?
No, I can be scared by ants. Fire ants.
Ants are scary.
Ants are scary. I can, like, one of my biggest, like, if I was to execute someone in the most horrific way, it would be to bury them. And this is not my idea. This is from like ancient Sumeria, for the record. Okay, you bury someone like neck deep. No. It's you tie someone to a tree and you fill them with honey next to a fire ants, and they slowly eat them alive. Yeah,
Jesus.
And
they go to war with each other. Giant colonies. It's insane.
Well, war seems to be something of a biological necessity.
Like how many other animals go to war? Like social animals go to war like with one another.
Chimps do it, and
Gorillas
chimps are our
do
closest. Too. Yeah, but those that's actually Austin. I think you actually just contradict. Chimps are actually our closest.
No, I'm actually not.
What?
It's actually
no, you're not?
I'm actually solidifying my position because those are what we call like beasts and animals, and that makes us different from the animal kingdom because we can also work cooperatively towards our goals. We can have everything what we have.
But the thing they cooperate towards is war.
No, not always. There's the thing called, food, culture, arts that we work towards too.
Well, that's things they strengthen themselves. I don't know about arts, but that's things that all.
How do you account for art then?
Art is. That's actually a really good question. What is art?
No. I'm saying accounting it for, just as far as human existence. I think that's just important, and I think that's what more drives it than human warfare. I think. And
no, I agree. Well, I wouldn't say that art drives us forward more than war, but I will say that art is unique to humans. I don't know of another animal that does art. So I'm not going to say humans are the same as animals, but we do have certain biological impulses.
And so that's what makes us different.
I would say both, like humans and animals, both are adaptive to playing, and playing is almost an extension of art.
Yeah, well, what? Playing is an extension.
Yeah, I can see it's a form of expression, but if it's just in a way of just competition, I mean, I guess you can express your competition. I'm just being really fair.
But like there is a thing about competition in terms of just reproduction. Males have to compete with one another to reproduce. They don't cooperate to reproduce. Because if you cooperate with another male to reproduce, that doesn't make any sense. You have to actually show.
We're talking about what makes us human, what we have of all this technology and stuff, right? We're not talking about what's happening in the bedroom.
But I think actually reproduction is exactly what makes us animals. Is we still have that need to reproduce.
Right, but what separates us from the rest of us is that we could think abstractly through art, and that is what drives us forward, and the culture and stuff like that.
I don't know if art's what drives us forward. I think
and culture.
And culture. I don't know if that's what exactly drives us forward necessarily. I think that art is... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I respectfully disagree, and that's... Okay. I totally understand.
Okay. No, I wouldn't say art is what drives us forward. Art is... I think that like every human being has the animal brain and the human brain. Except we have lizard brain. I think that's the term that gets floated around a lot. We have biological impulses, but we're not just like the animals in the sense that we can actually... We are only driven by our animal instincts. We're different. But I do think that like... we have them nevertheless. So the idea of competition is ingrained in us.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there is some, but the question is we were like wondering what is the driver factor? Because I'm not saying that there isn't any competition drive, because there is, but which one's the stronger force pulling human history? That's where I think we disagree, and I think it's more the art and culture is concerned. It could be a war, but only by forced propaganda, I see.
I don't know if it's propaganda, because, like, I mean, I think war has been pretty much a consistent part of human history. It's like every civilization goes to war.
Propaganda.
You think it's all propaganda? You don't think it's more instinct?
I think it's very much a propaganda convincing young men to go to war, go die for somebody else because they said so. Oh, right.
Well, I think a lot of them don't go to war because they're told so. I think a lot of them go to war because they're trying to protect their family, their lineage, their tribe, their home. Most wars are territorial. And
it ends up being the propaganda but it ends up the reality.
But if it's propaganda, it's still people that respond to it. They're influenced by it. They're more influenced by their need to protect their tribe than they are to, I don't know, what would you say, cooperate with the invading tribe? It doesn't seem like that would be their impulse.
No, you got to defend yourself, but I'm talking about going to war, let's go and conquer a land. That's, I think, is such a propaganda-filled motive that it's impossible. The only thing I'm suggestive is you also got to collectively defend whatever you do, right? Or cooperatively defend against something. And
yeah, but they're defending against who? An invading force. That invading force didn't come about magically. It came about because of human nature.
No, I think it's just a human nature. People just want more stuff. But
that's human nature. You agree that's part of human nature. Whether you think it's propaganda or you think it's just for the instinctual, it's still what happens.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. It is human nature, but is that something that we should succumb to? And should that be what we drive everything into humans is? No, and I don't think that's what it's about. Life's about.
Okay, but the difference here is that I think you are the one making the radical claim, not me. I'm looking at human history and saying, hey, it's always been this way. I'm not saying it always has to be this way.
No, right.
You can change it. I don't know if I can. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to make one claim or the other. I just think that human beings have base instincts that you can't deprogram. I think more often than not, people will act in a mob mentality.
Agreed. So how do you make a system that accounts for that is what my podcast is about.
Okay, well, that's actually a very good topic for good discussions with your guests on your podcast. Tina, would you agree?
Yeah.
I threw you back.
I was actually going to say, going back to abstract thinking in art, and I was going to say, I don't know if art necessarily drives human culture, maybe human culture, but human civilization forward. But as far as abstract thinking, I think that, whether in warfare or in business or anything, abstract thinking will oftentimes drive innovation and societal progress.
Well, actually, I would agree that I think every great new age of human civilization is driven by new ideas.
And to get to new ideas, usually you have to think abstractly, or there are new tools or methods of something.
I hope that my rant against Austin didn't sound like I'm against art. I think
I'm even going militarily, the means of warfare have certainly changed from in the last 50 years,
Absolutely.
Yeah, warfare became so dangerous that we don't do it as much anymore.
I mean, it's become a hidden art.
I think it happens just as much. It's just not how it used to be in the past. It's more war for information and war for, it's not people dying. It's people getting hurt. Or not people getting hurt, but society is getting hurt almost.
I think subversion has become a much better military tactic than actual physical force, which is actually in a lot of ways more dangerous. I mean, people are getting fed false information from all sides, from so many sources. I agree, information is actually a much more dangerous weapon than actual military strength at this point.
Well, you even see countries like Russia, that's called, I forget what, unconventional warfare, where they'll just kind of support almost guerrilla-like people that aren't necessarily part of Russia, but they're kind of associated with it. Even the U.S. has done that,
Yeah, the U.S. has done that.
Nicaragua and, Colombia and Venezuela, yeah.
It's, yeah. Well, okay, so. All right. I mean, that's all good. I mean, I had to end this soon because we had I had other plans. I can't speak for you guys, but before we leave, I would like Austin, our guest, to go on the fire round questions. Are you up for that?
I feel it in my seat.
You're hot in the hot seat. All right. So these are just all right. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You don't necessarily have to answer them immediately, but this is just answer them, and we're not going to go much further into it. So just answer them honestly and as they come. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. Hot seat time. Boom. I do not have a sound clip ready up for that. All right. What do you like to do to relax?
Read and play video games and record my podcast.
What is your favorite sound?
The sound of a Native American flute.
Ooh.
I like that. What is something you know a lot about?
I know a lot about me. That's all I can say. That's about it. As I could say about the universe. That's all you can know.
What is something you do not know much about?
That's a little bit of myself too, but also the rest of the world.
I love those answers. I think those are good. I love them. All right. If you got to do one thing over again, what would it be?
I don't think anyone ever has like a prepared.
Yeah. Can we go back to that one?
Okay, we'll come back to that one. Do you believe in free will?
Good question. Yes, there's a lot of yeses and a lot of nos. And oh man, when it comes down to it, not really, no.
If you had to have sex with a male celebrity, which one would it be?
Let's see. If I had to have one.
You can pick more than one.
I'm just right. There's just so many of them.
Johnny Depp, Chris.
How about Hugh Jackman? How about that?
Hugh Jackman. Okay, I like that one. That's good. Do you believe in love at first sight?
No.
How would you best describe your political views?
This whole thing wasn't clear earlier. But, I would say I'm an anarchist. I don't believe in any I believe in hierarchy. I don't believe in any hierarchies, and if there is a hierarchy, they have to. It's not inherently self-justified.
How would you best describe your religious views?
Agnostic. Who knows?
Okay, so the next one answers that question. Do you believe in God?
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
If you were given $1 million, what would you do?
I would go through and buy some motorhomes and give some of those motorhomes to homeless people who need it, like with families and stuff.
So you try to start a commune?
Yeah, there you go. You see the little ceilings. I'm trying to sneak that in there. Buy them over with motorhomes. It's not a bad way, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna get on the phone with Bezos right now. Invest in our little motorhomes. All right, I love it. All right, is there such a thing as a moral fact?
Yes, there's a moral fact of murder. Murder's bad.
If reincarnation exists, what do you think your next life would be?
If I believe in it, or is it?
Yeah, if reincarnation exists.
Oh, if
what you think what would your next life be? What do you think?
I think it would be a life of a cheetah.
Oh. Cheetah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the first thing that came out of my mind.
Okay. And lastly, are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
That was an important question. Remember, I only put that on there because Tina, do you remember when we did our first podcast?
I was literally watching our first one a couple times last night.
And that was we decided in our first podcast, Tina and I decided that we were going to interview each other, and the first question out of his mouth was, "Are you right-handed or left-handed?"
This is how we introduced ourselves to people.
And I was like, "How does that doesn't answer any question." Okay.
Do you know what the next question was?
What was your favorite color?
Yeah. When's your birthday?
Yeah, Tina's a great interviewer, I must say.
What ethnicity do you identify as?
What? Identify as? Is it really up to you?
Well, actually, yeah. I guess identify changes the whole question.
The fuck? It's like you can't just identify I'm black. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
All right. Well, I enjoyed myself. How about you? You guys?
I enjoy the living hell out of it.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Where will we be able to find your podcast when it is released?
All the major ones. I just haven't made enough of them, but they're coming around. So they're going to be on Spotify. I think maybe all the major ones. I'm going to be publishing it through Anchor, I think, but they automatically put it on the major ones after that.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, Austin, for joining us. This has been
perfect. Thanks again.
Thank you, Audi.
Okay.
All right.
Tina,
thanks, Tina.
Yeah. For Tina and Karen, do the tube. I'm Karen.
This is Tina.
All right. Stay safe, everybody, and stay hydrated. We love you. Okay. Done recording.